Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. X-Men issue number 4. Am I wearing the right shirt for this? I think so, right? Anyway, so this was a comic book that I started reading and I looked at it, I'm just like, holy crap. Holy crap, this is good. This is amazing. Jerry Dugan is one of those guys who has the ability to, like he's hit or miss, right? Either his comic book is going to be really bad or it's going to be really amazing. I've very rarely ever read a Jerry Dugan comic book where I'm like, I had a pretty good time. It's usually always hit or miss with this cat, right? I've never seen a comic book that was so perfectly split right down the middle in my life before. Let's get talking about who made this comic book. We'll move on from there. Jerry Dugan is the writer. Javier Pina is the artist. Eric Arcianega is the color artist. And VC's Clayton Cowles on letters. Tom Mueller doing the design. We talk about Pepe Larez and Marty Gracia doing one of the best covers that I've seen in a really long time. Wow, this was gorgeous. Congratulations, guys. You guys deserve a raise for that. Bunch of people doing the variant covers. Jonathan Hickman is still labeled as the head of X, although, whatever. Maybe it's just a title at this point. Like a lame duck policy. And the X-Men were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. A lot of things done right in this comic book. First off, the foreword of the comic book was so perfect. And what followed was so perfect. Because I'm sitting here reading this comic book and I'm like, I'm on issue number 4. I don't feel like I missed anything, even though things obviously happened. I don't feel, not that I don't feel like I didn't miss anything. I didn't feel like I missed so much that I can't continue with this issue. I felt like I should probably stop reading this issue and go back and read the previous 3 issues. Not because I need to. I'm following along with this comic book just fine. But rather because this is just such a well-written comic book. Wow, the history, it makes me want to go back and look at more. Scott having nightmares about his inefficiency as a leader is exactly the kind of nightmares that a good leader would have, with or without a cosmic entity like, or other dimensional entity, I should say, like Nightmare, right? You could do this without him. He would have these nightmares regardless. Nightmare is not one of those cosmic entities. Nightmare, obviously appeared in this comic book. Nightmare is not one of those cosmic entities who, if you kill him, then people don't have nightmares anymore, right? We've seen in Secret Wars 2. If you kill Death, then she is the final death. If you kill Death, nobody else dies. Thanos can't just come by and snap and half the people die anymore. No, you can't. The entity, the cosmic concept of death. Death is a concept, right? You kill Death, she's the final death. Nobody else can die. Sorry, Thanos. Think of something else to do with that big freaking fistagon that you got right over there, because death isn't happening anymore, right? Nightmare isn't like that. People can have nightmares without Nightmare present or around or doing his thing. If Nightmare dies, there will still be nightmares, right? That's important to understand, because I would love to see the script of this comic book. Did Jerry Dugan specifically say to Javier, listen, this is what I'm doing, so I need you to make sure it looks like Nightmare is causing these nightmares to happen, because it's not safe to assume anything, right? Nightmare was flying around on his steed, his Nightmare Stallion, or Nightmare Mare, anyway, flying around, and people were having nightmares. And the way that I took it was that he was drawn to the nightmares that some of these people were having. He even quotes child soldiers, right? Remember a big discussion that I had on the, and people were having on the Comic Book University Discord channel. Just not too long ago, are the X-Men child soldiers? Nightmare seems to think so. And the PTS dreams that they were having, yeah, I would say so, yeah, And I really like the history behind all this stuff, but I felt like he was more drawn to the nightmares as opposed to causing the nightmares, right? Guys, we know whenever Magneto is on the page and there's metal flying around, it's usually pretty safe to say that he was causing the metal to fly around. But what if you read the next panel and you see that actually he was training Polaris, and Polaris was actually causing the metal to fly around, right? She wasn't in the first scene, but in the second scene, if you have just one scene with, metal flying around and Magneto is on the page, it's safe to assume that, and you're causing the audience to assume that. And then here's the trick. Oh, he wasn't doing anything. He was just observing how Polaris or somebody else who manipulates metal was doing things, right? That's the idea of using the assumptions of the audience to your own favor, right? To build your story a little bit more, to engross us even more, right? Whenever you want someone to know that Magneto is actually the one manipulating metal, I don't have to show you. I don't have to raise my hands and show you what it looks like when Magneto is manipulating the metal, because It's been done since Jack Kirby and on to this very day. You always see Magneto is the one manipulating the metal on the page because you see Magneto manipulating the metal, right? In the movies, that's what you always see. You always see they show it. If it were a book, a novel, all right, where there are no pictures, they would say he was, flying through the air and the metals he bent the metal to his will as if it was putty in his hands. You know what I'm saying? From miles around. Like, you would have something like that in the novel. You wouldn't just say metal was flying around and Magneto was there, so hey, look. No. That you wouldn't just do that. So likewise, I wanted to see that Nightmare was actually causing these nightmares, because otherwise he was basically just a peeping Tom, and Jean Grey had no reason to be acting the way that she did. I like the way that Scott and everybody else was having nightmares in here. It was really good. It was very engrossing. It was like, wow. He was looking at, like the guilt that he felt for being with Emma right after Jean died, and even when she came back and stuff like that, like the guilt. I love that. I love that because, yes, that's who Cyclops is. Whether he justified those actions or not, or said, I'm going to live with the consequences of my choices because I'm a man. I'm a man, damn it. I loved it. Loved it. It was solid reading. But then Jean shows up, and this is basically Deus Ex Machina. First off, we're made to assume that he was causing these nightmares, right? When I didn't get that out of this at all. I didn't. I felt like he was drawn to their nightmares and was kind of feeding off of them a little bit, right? I didn't even see that he was trying to enhance them or anything. He was just trying to see who's going to be the best meal or what area is going to be the best meal. You know what I'm saying? The smell. Like if I'm walking and Dunkin' Donuts or whatever is just now making those donuts fresh, I'm going to walk by and be like, no cop is going to come by and try and arrest me and say, like, you're causing them to burn. Nobody's going to do that, right? So, no, I just don't see that. Like I said, if Nightmare dies, people are still going to have nightmares. Just because Nightmare is on the page and there were nightmares, people were having nightmares, doesn't mean that he was causing those nightmares. So, yeah, I don't think that was done well at all. I would love to see, did Javier screw that up or did Jerry screw that up, or was it somewhere in between? I don't know, because there was a misconnection there for sure. Anyway, moving on. Once Jean shows up, like in the flesh, that's where the comic book went straight to hell. Look, Jean Grey is powerful, and she didn't have to say, I'm an Omega level telepath and an Omega level telekinetic. Yeah, cool. I've got a huge dick. You know what I'm saying? Was it inappropriate for me to say that? Yeah, likewise. It was cringy for her to feel the need to say something like that. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Every comic book is somebody's first comic book. Okay, I get that. But here's the thing. If you read this and you see this, it's like, okay, don't mess with Jean. Nobody should mess with Jean. If you're a Jean stan, right? If you're an absolute fanboy and you're like, Jean Grey is the greatest, you are putting this in this little comic book, right? Issue number 4 of X-Men, Jerry Dugan, 2021. You are putting this in your little private spank bank, right? You're saving some of the images for on your hard drive or on your phone. And anytime that somebody says she's not that powerful, you're going to refer back to this. You will never refer back to her quitting X-Force because she couldn't handle stuff like, the new Reavers, right? You're not gonna want to refer back to Mr. Sinister wiping the floor with her every single time back then. You're not gonna refer back to those things. But this comic book, you're gonna refer back to in a heartbeat, you know what I'm saying? Because, wow. But here's the problem. This is Deus Ex Machina, and you're actually able to see the Deus. You're able to actually see the deity. Just in case you're not familiar with Deus Ex Machina, here's just a really quick thing. If the writer backs himself into a corner where the bad guys and the world, whatever, and the heroes just can't handle what's happening, and somehow they, as an example, run and hide inside of a bunker someplace, and they don't realize that it's a nuclear fallout bunker, and the bad guys are outside, and they close the door like, what are we going to do? Let's just pray. And all of a sudden, World War III happens and the nukes start popping off every place, and they happen to be protected from the radiation inside there, even though they didn't realize it was a bunker. They didn't realize that it was a fallout shelter, right? They just thought, oh, here's a hole in the ground. Maybe Frodo and Bilbo are hiding in here. Let's just go inside here and we'll close the door and everything outside gets destroyed and God saved them. That's Deus Ex Machina. And it's the worst, not even the worst, but it's definitely the weakest form of conflict resolution in a comic book. Anybody in the field will tell you that. Any writer will tell you that. Any critic will tell you that. It is the weakest form. And it's one of those things where it's like, I wanted my heroes to fit. I don't need God to be the hero, right? I don't need chance or happenstance to be the hero. But that's pretty much what happened here. But Jean was the god. Too many times in comic books, we've seen a hero, just some minor hero from a comic, and Jean is no minor hero, but work with me here. Some minor hero, like here's Spider-Man has a hard time fighting Rhino, but I wasn't hired to write a Spider-Man comic book. I was hired to write a Misty Knight comic book. So hey, let's take some powerful, hero or villain who's not that big of a deal, but still, let's take Rhino, and I'll have her wipe the floor with Rhino in one panel. And I'll make it a splash page and be like, boom, and everybody's going to look at this and say, oh, dude, she's actually really badass. And so all the little marks for, and I love Misty Knight. I love Misty Knight. You know what I'm saying? If I were ever transported to the comic book world, let me tell you whose door I'm knocking on first. All right? First. Bang. Right there. But I don't want to see her wiping the floor with some guy who could bench press 75 tons on a bad day. You know what I'm saying? The worst day of his life, he's overhead pressing 50 tons. You know what I'm saying? And we've seen it in the comic books. And she just one move. Bloop. So that doesn't make her look any more powerful to me. If I'm a stand for that one character, yes. But for everybody else who's reading comic books, you look at this and say, whatever with Misty Knight, how come Spider-Man, who's on his worst day 10 times, maybe 20 times as strong as even her bionic arm, how come he has a hard time dealing with her? How come he had to let Silver Sable die? How come he didn't just walk up and judo flip? I don't understand, right? It doesn't make your hero look stronger. It makes the other heroes who this is their main villain, it makes them look weaker. That's what it does. So, and we've seen this plenty of times. Even back in the day when we seen Spider-Man beat Juggernaut, a guy who Thor and Doctor Strange, two ridiculously powerful people. The only way they could beat Juggernaut is by dimension traveling him someplace else and making him somebody else's problem, right? It's the only way that we've ever been able to see Juggernaut get beat before, if you can even call that being beat. No. Spider-Man comes along and he traps him in quick-dry cement. People were outraged. Like, dude, what? Even Spider-Man fans were kind of like, Spider-Man's not the only comic book that I read. I don't see this as being realistic. This wasn't good. This wasn't good, right? But at least that, it took 2 issues. There was a cliffhanger. It took 2 issues for that to happen, not one panel, right? Not several panels of Marvel Girl just wiping the floor with Nightmare. The first appearance of Nightmare was also the first appearance of Doctor Strange. We realize that, right? More than that, there's a major motion picture coming out. Doctor Strange 1 made a lot of money, especially considering the fact he's not one of the most popular characters in the Marvel Universe. If people didn't know who Iron Man was when Iron Man showed up, they sure as hell didn't know who Doctor freaking Strange was. You know what I'm saying? So, with part 2 coming out of a major motion picture, and now part 2 is coming out, it's highly anticipated with the WandaVision stuff and all the stuff that's going on, right? And it's like, oh yeah, and apparently Nightmare's supposed to be the big bad in this one, and you just jobbed out, like this is like wrestling, you just had a squash match where Jean Grey, who has a hard time fighting other people, she just wipes the floor with Nightmare, page after page of her basically, like she spanked the horse, she slapped the horse to get the horse running. You might as well have just had Javier Pina pulling Nightmare over her lap, pulling down his pants and spanking his white butt. You know what I'm saying? Like this was really bad. This was horrible, especially if I'm Kevin Feige. You know what I'm saying? I didn't approve this. If I'm Kevin Feige, not only did I not approve this, but I'm walking in with my hat of the week talking about, Jerry, listen, you pull some shit like this again, boy, I'm going to put you on Deadpool for the rest of your life. And if you don't like it, you can go work someplace else. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. This is the oldest, weakest trope in comic books. They're good tropes. Case in point, we know that Doctor Strange is coming back, right? It's overdone. It's probably not going to be really good, whatever. But like we know that Doctor Strange is going to be coming back. That's one of the things why we can look at some change in the comic books and not completely nerd out and be like, oh my god, yeah, we've been around for a while. Comics have been for a while. We know Doctor Strange is coming back. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Going to kill him right before a movie comes out. Everybody knows he's coming back. But how do you undo this? Look, this is a franchise. There is zero. The only defining feature of a franchise is continuity. So this is why when I hear some writer say continuity kills, no. Continuity kills bad writers. That's what it does. And I'm not saying Jerry Dugan is a bad writer. We've seen him write too many good things in the past. I'm saying I've had writers tell me, yeah, continuity kills. Whoa, then you should go write in the independents. You don't belong here anymore. You don't belong in Marvel or DC because there's continuity here. And if you screw with that continuity, you're a bad writer. You're a bad writer. All right. Or at least that's a feature of a bad writer. And your editors were bad. And anybody who let this comic book come out did a bad job in that point. There is no other defining quality of a franchise than continuity. You can get superfluous and say, well, it's making money, in which case then it's a bad franchise. I really don't want to think like that about Marvel. Guys, there were so many, like the first half of this comic book was fantastic. And for a great character like Jean Grey to show up and just ruin the whole comic book, I know that a lot of Jean fans are going to use this moment and be like, because continuity, right? You're going to take all the great Jean moments and say, boom, look. But you're going to hate that somebody else can point out all the bad Jean moments, right? This is why continuity is so important. I want to know Jean's actual power level, right? I don't want it to always, and I know every writer's going to have something different, but all this does to me is I would love to be sitting in the theater watching Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2, and America, who's going to be in the movie, and Scarlet Witch, and freaking Doctor Strange, and all the people who are going to be in this movie trying to fight back against the hordes of what we, I've been led to believe is going to be Nightmare, for Nightmare to show up, and somebody just scream, and everybody's having a problem, and somebody in the audience, it won't be me, but somebody in the audience just scream out, just call Jean Grey! Mississauga Cineplex, that's where I'll be. Probably opening night. Probably that Thursday, that opening night. I'm saying, if somebody calls that out, I will find you in the movie theater and I will take a picture with you and I will post it everywhere and just say, this person, right? Man, woman, whatever. This person is a freaking superhero. All right? I'm just saying. Yeah, this could have been a whole lot better by accident. By accident. Terrible. Like, I've said Jerry Dugan is either hit or miss. I've never seen him be hit and miss in the same comic book issue. Like, wow. If this was a video game, you'd hear somebody in the background be like, "Get good, scrub." This was terrible. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for the comic book. Is what it is. Like the video, watch an ad. Talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.